Hello everyone and welcome to Beginner's Code. Today we are going to be creating a banking system that uses object-oriented programming. This will allow us to register and create a bank account that people can deposit, withdraw and see total transactions. Okay, so the first thing that we're actually going to do is create two different classes, and one will structure the user and the other will structure the bank. However, the bank will actually inherit from the user. So the first will be a class called user, and we will then give it an initializing method, which will take in some parameters of self, name and age, and then we will just reference it using self.name is equal to name and self.age is equal to age. So now we have a user who has signed up. They have a name and an age, so what we want to do is just display some information. So we can create a method called show_details, and this will take the self parameter so that we can reference these parameters given up here. And we will just return an f string that says thank you, and then self.age, year old, and then self.name.title. And that will just return a string that says thank you 26-year-old Chris with a capital C. So now we have our user, we now want to create the bank account. So each bank account will have a user attached to it. So what we want to do is create the bank and inherit from the user. And now we want to give it some attributes. So each bank account will have its own attributes of total deposits and total withdrawals. So every time we instantiate this bank, they will have separate totals. So we may have one person who uses the withdrawals 5 times and another person who uses withdrawals once, and they will have 2 separate numbers for them. So what we want to do is have total_deposits and make that equal to 0, and total_withdrawals and also make that equal to 0. So now we have the attributes for each class. We want to actually give the constructor, or give the class a constructor method. So __init_, and then what we want to do is just take self, name, age and balance. And now what we want to do is, because we have name and age up here and we have this name and age here, so this bank account is actually linked to this user, so we want to use the super and then use the init from the user. So we are taking the name and age and giving it to the bank account of parameters. So here we will have name and age. Notice it doesn't need the self parameter because we are using the super, which means that it's taking from the parent class. Now we want to use self.balance is equal to balance, just to give the balance a little reference that we can use throughout. So now we want to show the info, and this will just take in the self parameter, and it will just return an f string that says self.name has a remaining balance of, and then in pounds we want to pass in the round function and then self.balance, and we'll just make it to 2 just in case the user was to enter something that made it less than 2 decimal place or more than 2 decimal place. And then on the next line we want to start our deposits. So def deposit, and this will take in a self parameter, and what we want to do is ask the user to input how much money they have or how much money they would like to deposit. So dp is equal to float, and then input with an f string that says self.name.title. Please enter how much you would like to deposit, if I can type. And then what we can do now is just print something straight away. So as soon as they've entered how much they want to deposit, we can just say, thank you for depositing. And then we can actually increment our deposits and increment our balance by whatever the amounts they've given. So self.balance plus equals, and then DP. So we may have £1,000 in the balance and then they've deposited an extra 50. So then we add 50 to the original 1,000. And then self.total_deposits plus equals 1. So because the user has deposited once, we are then incrementing this total deposit. And then we're going to return an F string that just says your balance is now self.balance. And what we want to do is again round it to 2 decimal places just to be sure. And now we want to start with the withdrawals. So we need the self parameter again, and then we want to just use the WD, or create a variable called WD, which will do exactly the same as the deposit variable we created here. So float input, and then self.name.title. Please enter how much you would like to withdraw. And now, because we might get to a point where a user has, say, £50, but they want to take out £100, we need to make sure there is an error, because otherwise we may have overdraws or issues with trying to take out money because you can't take out more money than you have. So if we then created an if statement and said if self.balance is less than WD, we want to just print saying, actually we'll return, because we will print later. So at the moment we just want to return that says you can't withdraw that amount. And then else we want to do what we've done up here. So we want to print thank you for withdrawing. And then we want to adjust the balance. So self.balance minus equals WD. And then self.total_withdrawals plus equals 1. So again, that will add 1 to our withdrawals every time we withdraw. Okay, so now we have our 2 classes pretty much made. We now want to create a function for when the user has decided what options they want to choose. Now this is outside both classes. So what we want to do to start with is just use the def keyword. So def options, and we want to pass in a parameter. So here we want to pass in user2, because we want to know whether or not user2 has any information. So the first thing we want to do is just print thank you for creating your bank account. And then we want to print here are a list of options. Please choose the number you want. And now we want to use a while loop. So we'll say while true, and then we'll have option underscore choice, and we'll make that equal to some user input. So we need to wrap this in an integer because we want whatever the user has inputted to be a number. So int and then input, and we will pass in number 1, which will say C balance, and then a new line, number 2, withdraw, and then a new line, number 3, deposit, number 4, C total withdrawals, number 5, C total deposits, and then number 6, we just want to quit. And if we add a new line at the end, just to make sure that whatever the user is inputting is on a fresh line. And then we want to go through each option. So if the user has inputted the value of 1, which is the C balance, then we need to show the balance. So if option underscore choice is double equal to 1, we then want to print the user underscore 1 underscore bank dot show underscore info. And then if option underscore choice double equal to 1 and the user 2 is not equal to none, so if whatever is passed in here is not none, if we have some information, then we also want to print user underscore 2 underscore bank dot show info. And then else if option choice is double equal to 2, we want to print user underscore 1 underscore bank dot withdraw. Sorry, withdrawals that should be. So we are actually referencing this method just here. And then we want to do an if option underscore choice is double equal to 2 and user 2 is not equal to none, then we want to create a new variable called WD and just say, put that equal to the input. And within this input, we are going to use an F string that says user underscore 2 dot name. Would you like to withdraw? Yes or no. So now if WD.lower is double equal to the value of yes, so if it's lowercase yes, then we will be printing user 2 dot name, user 2 bank dot withdraw, which is all lowercase, so withdrawals. Okay, so what is happening here is we're creating we're using the withdraw option for user 1, and we're printing how much, or we're printing this. So we are actually activating this method here on this line, and then we are making sure that user 2 doesn't have any value. And if it does, then we're creating a variable asking the user 2 whether or not they'd like to withdraw. If they would like to withdraw, then we are using this method again. Just realised there's a double W there. Okay, so now we have that. We then want to move on to option 3. So if option 3 is double equal to, or if option choice is double equal to 3, then we want to print user 1 bank dot deposits. And then if option underscore choice is double equal to 3 and user 2 is not equal to none, then we want to create a new variable called deposit or dep. And this will just be a F string that says user 2 dot name. Would you like to deposit? Yes or no. And then if dep dot lower, so just like we did above, is double equal to yes, then we will just print the user to bank dot deposit. Okay, so now we know the how to use the deposit and the withdrawals that we've created. We now want to try and add the total withdrawals in. So we'll use the else if, and we'll use option choice, make that equal to 4. So if it is, then we want to print an F string that says there have been user underscore 1 underscore bank dot total withdrawals, because we are using withdrawals first of all. And then we just want to add the word withdrawals on the end so that it makes sense. And then if option choice double equal to 4 and user 2 is not equal to none, then we just want to print the F string that says there have been user underscore to underscore bank dot total withdrawals as well. And that will just print both at the same time if 4 is chosen. Now we want to move on to option 5, which is to see the total deposits, which will work exactly the same, however, without withdrawals or without using total withdrawals. Instead, we'll be using total deposits. So else if option choice is double equal to 5, print an F string that says there have been user underscore one underscore bank dot total deposits. And now if the option choice is double equal to 5 and user 2 is not equal to none, then we will just print another F string that says there have been user 2 bank dot total deposits. Okay, so we now have our first 5, which are basically retrieving all the information. The last thing we want to do is quit. So if the user puts in the value of 6, then we want to quit out of the application. So the option choice this time will be the value of 6. And in that case, we then want to print a statement that just says, thank you for using BC Bank. And then we want to return false, and then we want to break. So we will actually be returning false and then breaking out of this while loop. And then finally, we just want to add an else, which will be a default clause. This will just pick up any other value that was entered. And this will just print a statement that just says, please choose a number from 1 to 6. Okay, so we now have the main bulk of the actual work done. Finally, we want to create a method or, well, a function that actually works for the bank creation. So this will actually ask the user whether or not how much money they have at the very beginning. So def bank underscore creation, and this will just take in a parameter of name. Now we can use a new variable called balance and assign it to a float for user input that just says an F string containing name.name.title. So what's happening here is we're passing in a value, and this value will have a .name attribute. So we will be passing in a object that has been instantiated from one of these that has a name and age value. So we can then use the name.name and then use the .title method on this value. And now we will just pass in how much money do you have? How much money do you have? Because this is the start. So when we actually use this, we're actually going to ask them the total balance they have. So we're going to return balance. And now we can start our while loop, and this will have all the logic put together to actually get our program going. So to start with, we're going to use a print statement that will just say welcome to BC Bank, and then we are going to create a name variable that will be assigned user input. So enter your name, and then age is equal to int input, enter your age. Oh, my bad, didn't mean to do that. And then what we want to do now is just create our first user. So user 1 is equal to user name, age. And we're passing in the 2 input values that we've just created. Now we want to assign our new user 2 to the value of none. So we're creating a user 2 variable that we'll be passing in, which has the value of none. If we want to add a new user, we can reassign user 2. If we don't, then we can just have it as none. And then this will allow us to just use the first bits of each option choice. So because it would be equal to none, this would not run. So what we can do now is just create new user and say this is equal to user input, would you like to register a new person? Type no to create your bank. And now I just need to change that around. So now we are asking them if they want to create or register a new person. So if they say yes, then we would be doing some logic. If they say no, then we would only have one specific person, so we can create their bank quite easily. So if new_user dot lower is double equal to yes, then we want to create a new name. So this will be user input again, enter the second person's name, and then age is equal to, again, an integer of user input, enter the second person's age, and then we can create user2, and we can reassign it to be user with the name, age. Now what we can do is just print a statement that says, thank you for registering 2 people. Please create your bank accounts. Now, as we have that, we now want to actually start using these methods and functions. So we have this bank creation here. So what we want to do is create a new variable that will just hold user 1's balance. And that will be equal to bank_creation. And what we're going to do is just pass in user_1.name. So we are accessing this user's name attribute that we've created. And now, because we have 2 people, we want to use user2 balance and do exactly the same. Make that equal to user_2.name. And now we can actually create our bank. So user_1_bank is equal to the bank creation or the bank instantiation. And here the name will be user_1.name. The age will be user_1.age. And then the balance will be user_1_balance. So these here reference these that we want. So they need to be added when we create or instantiate our object or class. So now we have our user 1's bank created, we can create our user 2. So user 2 bank is equal to bank, user_2.name, user_2.age, and then finally user_2_balance. And now we can actually use our options that we've created up here. So we can pass in user2 as well. So we'll create a new variable just called flag, and this will be assigned the options with user_2 passed in. And then if flag is double equal to false, we will break. So if this has been chosen, so if the value of 6 has been chosen, they will have broken out of this while loop and returned false. And we will then have the returned false passed into this variable, which is then checked. If it is double equal to false, then we will break out of this while loop and it will completely end the program. So otherwise, if the new user or if the person that was already registered types no up here, then we will be using user_1_balance, making that equal to bank_creation with user_1.name. And then we want to use user_1_bank and make that equal to bank, and then user_1.name, user_1.age, and then user_1_balance. And then same again, flag equals options user2. So here we will be passing in the value of none. And then if flag is double equal to false, we will break. So now if I save this and head over to my terminal, and then where I've saved it, if I just run banking.py, So pythonbanking.py. Welcome to BC Bank. Enter your name, Chris. Enter your age, 26. Would you like to register another person? No. Okay, so we now have an issue. Okay, so I've just been back through the code and there is a couple of issues. The first, just we need to add in an I for the title. And then next, we just need to add in this return statement. So your balance is now, and this will just print out the new balance that the user has. So now what we can do is just double check that there's nothing else. Now if we head back to here, so Python banking.py, so enter your name, Chris, age 26, no, I have £1,000 and I want to withdraw 100 and I want to deposit 200. So then total deposits, there's been total withdrawals, there's been 1, total deposits, there's been 1, and now if I wanted to say deposit another 200, and then total deposits, we now have it raised to 2. So now if I quit and then run it again, so we have Chris and 26, and this time we want to create a new person. So this time the second person's name will go for Alan and he's 32. So Chris, how much money do you have? Well, Chris has 1,000 and Alan has 1,500. So what we want to do is this will work for both. So if we press number 1, we'll see the balance of both. Number 2, so Chris, please enter how much you would like to withdraw. So I want to take 100. And Alan, would you like to withdraw? Yes. Alan wants to take 600. So we now have both a remaining balance of 900. And then we want to deposit 100 into both. And Alan would also like to. And this time we now want to withdraw from Chris's only. So Chris will take out 100 and Alan doesn't want to. So now we can see total withdrawals so there have been 2 and then there have been 1. So if you want to go through and reformat, then you can. You can just add in Chris, there have been 2 withdrawals, and Alan, there have been 1 withdrawals. So lastly, we'll just check the deposits. Both have 1, which is perfect. And now if I press number 6, we will end the program. Thanks for watching. Hopefully this has helped your understanding of using object-oriented programming to create real-world objects. If you liked what we've been through and you want to learn more, please drop a like and subscribe to my channel to keep up to date. In the next episode, we will be looking at creating a visual representation of data taken from the website Kaggle. Thank you for watching and I'll see you next time.